Good morning. It is, what day is it? Day 10, January. I am continuing my 31 days of content, getting into the new year, off on a right start, starting new habits. And I am, of course, running a little bit late to get into work today. But I am doing the best I can. I have still got to put on my makeup. I'm out of foundation. I'm literally putting water in my foundation, shaking it up, and doing my best to make that work until I'm able to go to Ulta development. So I was listening to YouTube stuff yesterday. I came across an article from CNN, and it was two of their African American newscasters that were on. I'm forgetting their name at the moment, but they were talking about breast cancer and Black women and the high percentage of Black women who die from breast cancer, and that, you know, how important it is to be screened. And one of the news reporter, she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and she talked about, she found a lump, but she put it off to take a news assignment to Israel. And when she came back, of course, they didn't have good finding. I just got, my doctor was like, hey, you're of age, you can get screened for breast cancer, and I'm just gonna put the order in for you because, you really need to do this. So I'm like, okay. Like, at first I was like, I could put it off a couple months. And then I saw that interview, and then I was like, well, here I am, just like everybody else. For no reason, I'm just saying I'm putting it off. I don't know if it's because I'm scared and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I'm doing the same thing too. After watching that news story, I went ahead and I scheduled my mammogram. And lo and behold, they had an appointment for Thursday, which was, I made my appointment on Tuesday. So I'm going in tomorrow at 9:15 to have my very first mammogram. I feel like it's important, especially at my age, just to get a baseline. I don't believe, as far as I know, we don't have a family history of breast cancer, but I know people personally that had no family history of breast cancer, and then they ended up being diagnosed with an aggressive form. So I am not going to take it for granted that everything's good. So I'm gonna go in, get it checked out, and at least get a baseline so they know what my breasts look like, and if I need additional screening. I know that I do have family members that have dense breast tissue, so that also has like additional screening that you have to do. So I'm really hoping I don't. I just hope to go in and they see everything, all my tissue look great, but you never know. So at least I'll know if I have to deal with that and have additional screening. So yeah, that's what I will be doing tomorrow. I'll be fine with it until I started watching more of what is it like to go through mammogram videos on YouTube. There was this one story of this gal that she was in her early 30s, or I think she was even in her late 20s, and she found a lump, and all these doctors weren't taking her seriously, and eventually she found a doctor that was willing to do a mammogram on her, and of course she was right, and they found cancer that was aggressive. I think she was also stage 3, and then she went through all this aggressive chemo. She had to go through a couple rounds of that, and then she was deemed cancer-free. But she really was listening to herself and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be at peace until I get an MRI of my whole body, and I want to make sure that there is no cancer in my body. And of course her doctors kind of poo-pooed her and were like, oh no, you're fine and everything's great. And at least she went into her doctor, and she literally was in tears and saying, I need to have a scan done. I have to have this done because I don't feel like I can move on with my life without knowing that I'm 100%, there's not one spot of cancer in my body. So her doctor was like, okay, fine, just to humor her. And of course her instincts were correct. They did find cancer in her system. So please don't come out. So anyways, so she was absolutely right, and so she had to go through another round of chemo treatments, and yeah, so that was just another wake-up call, and it was just okay, you know what, I'm not gonna take it for granted. I've heard too many of these stories, and so I'm just gonna do it. And I'm sure everything's gonna be fine, but I just want to make sure that I'm not ignoring it. So I can set a good example for other people and whoever might be watching, who might be like, especially like African Americans and like women in general, we put ourselves on like the back burner. But you know, I was watching even more videos about, I think they said it was like 40 or 45% increased likelihood for Black women to die of cancer. It just doesn't make sense. Against, you know, of all different races, this is the group that has more significant risk. And it's not more like the different forms or aggressive forms. It's usually because the women are not believed when they come in saying that they found a lump. You know, they're having some type of symptom that their doctors are just not believing them, which is ridiculous. And I personally haven't had that issue, except for I did have an issue with a male doctor in my early 20s when I was having really horrible, intense, I think it was like pelvic pain. And he just told me basically to go and have an aspirin and go home. So of course I never went back to that doctor again. And I think I made a complaint actually, but you know, he was just kind of like, well, I just think it's this, and take an aspirin and you know, you should be good. So after all of that, of course I found, you know, a really good female doctor, and I've had female doctors ever since. People like feel, especially like in the African American community, they are more comfortable having a Black female doctor as their doctor. I just want a female. I don't care who it is. I don't care what race you are. I just want somebody who can relate to the pain that I'm going through. For instance, like I was talking to my doctor about like my tummy trouble that I have when I'm on my period, not knowing that that's very common. I was really surprised by that. And she was like, oh yeah, I have that same issue too. And you have to take fiber, you know, like the week before your period starts, and that should really help. And of course I started taking like my greens and all that stuff, and it makes a huge difference. And I was just telling her I was just like having horrible pain, like gas pains and stuff. And she was like, yeah, no, I get it. She's like, I have the same issue. I was just talking about like the intense pain I was having when I was going to the bathroom, and like TMI, but I was just like, it's like pain shooting up and down my bottom and my spine, and I'm literally like, I feel like I'm gonna cry. And yeah, she was like, yeah, try that, see if that helps. She goes, believe it or not, it's very common, and a lot of women have that issue. And if it gets any worse, then, you know, we're gonna have to look into it and see if you have like endometriosis and all this stuff. So, but yeah, so I'm going to have my first mammogram. I, of course, I was feeling okay, but now I'm like, you know, I think everybody comes in, I'm going in positive. I'm usually like really good at detecting like the slightest things that are off. I was having stomach issues like several years ago. I was highly stressed and I was throwing up, and I really pursued it with my doctor. Luckily I had a female doctor, and she was like, we're gonna have you go in for a colonoscopy. She goes, we gotta figure out what's going on with your belly. And I went in, and I ended up, of course, having gastritis, which is inflammation of your stomach lining, and then they ended up finding polyps. And you know, I was in my late 20s, and my doctor's like, you should not have this at your age. And of course, African American, we have a higher risk of developing polyp. I really actually need to most likely have to get another colonoscopy. I probably should have had one by now. I think I was supposed to come in like every like 5 years or something like that, or 5 to 10 years or something like that. I think he told me 5 years, but I never went back, so I should probably address that as well. So I'm gonna go in, start my day, and hopefully be very productive. Good morning. So I am, per usual, running a little behind. I don't know if I'm excited about it, but I'm just kind of ready just to kind of get it over with, and hopefully everything goes well. No issues, and a clean report. So I'll do what I can to record what I can't. I'm sure it's gonna be a fun show. I don't know if I have anxiety about it. I'm always like optimistic, and I'm like, okay, all the reports are gonna come back clean. I don't feel like I got anything going on, but you never know. So this is all precautionary, and just to really just be like a champion for myself, for my health. So I think it should be there's a better way than how they're doing it. And I don't know, there has to be a better way than smashing your boobs between two plates. I mean, we don't ask men to put their men parts in between two plates and squishing it to get an image of it. Like, we don't do that. So why do women have to do that? That's my thing. Like, I know, like, a lot of people tell me it's really not that bad, it's just uncomfortable, but it's not bad. But I'm thinking, like, there's got to be some smart woman who can come up with a better way to get amazing images of, like, your breast tissue and your lymph nodes in your chest. And I don't know, I just think there's got to be a better way. This whole year 2024 is acting like a grown-up because damn, I'm 40 and I feel like I'm still not, like, getting it in my brain, like, hey, you're a grown-up and there's just certain things you have to do. And yeah, so that's, like, including my health. So not only getting my health and wellness, fitness and nutrition together so I can just live longer and extend my fertility. And it actually was fast. I had a really good radiologist, and I think she said her name was Jeanette, if I remember right, but she was great. She made it really simple, quick and easy. Didn't hurt, just a lot of pressure and kind of weird angles, but yeah, so we'll see what it says. And she said it's normal if you have, like, dense breast tissue for your doctor to kind of call you back your first time to get more images, because it's like your first time and they've never seen your breast before scanned, so they have to, like, study it. Just got back to my car, and when I was signing in, there was a really nice lady that was sitting across from me, and you know, I believe she was like I don't know, I couldn't tell if she was Hispanic, maybe like Islander, I don't know, I couldn't tell because we had masks on, because I guess it's flu season, which I forgot, and so they're having everyone mask up again. So I was like, what the hell is this? Nice lady during check-in, and she goes, hey, how are you doing this morning? And I said, I'm good. And you know, and she was just like, you know, is this your first mammogram, or have you been coming a lot? And I said, no, this is actually my first. And she was like, oh no, she goes, that's so good, because you're taking care of your health. It's so important to not put it off. And then she, you know, starts telling me about her journey, and she was a breast cancer survivor. And she said that, you know, she had put off her mammogram for, you know, a long time. And then she ended up finding 2 lumps in her right breast. She came in, had her mammogram done, and then they found out she had breast cancer. Go into detail that she had a mastectomy on her breast with the cancer, and she ended up needing 5 years of continuous treatment. And then she recently got the all clear that she was in remission. So just kind of reconfirmed again that I made the right decision to come in and at least get my baseline mammogram done. And it was really fast and easy. My radiologist was really nice, and she was very gentle. She explained everything to me, made it very clear. And she said, okay, like, since this is your first time, we're getting your baseline. So don't be afraid if they call you back in, because they just want to get some more imaging on your breast. She says that's not unusual. No, it went really well, and the pressure wasn't too bad. And I would say just like the positioning and remembering not to pull back was the thing that was like, and holding your breath. I think that it was the positioning that's uncomfortable, because you're kind of like, what am I doing? And if I move, I'll rip my breast off. I don't know. So it wasn't that bad. And she was very nice and gentle. I was like, oh, it's gonna be weird, her just picking up my boobs and flattening them down on the little paddle thing. You know, she would explain what the machine was, and she's like, it was digital. And one of the questions I always had was like, why do you have to hold your breath during like an x-ray or scans? And she was like, well, it's a digital image, so if you move around, you're gonna get like fuzziness, and then we're gonna have to do the photos again so we can get a clear image. And I was like, that makes sense. And she mentioned my right breast is bigger than my left, and she was like, and that's normal, that happens, which I already knew that. I was kind of, I would, you know, you look at yourself and you're like, that one's a little larger. I think it's like even in my cup size. So with losing weight, for me, the benefit of losing weight was losing my cup size, because I felt like I really liked being like a size B, and maybe like I was like a 36C for a while, and I put on weight, and then I went up into like a double D, and that did not feel good at all for my size. It was like heavy. When I run, it's still an issue. And when I was smaller, it was easier to find bras, like that actually like fit right, and I was snug. And I'm still having a little bit of issues with like sports bras that I feel like are keeping me in, but I know that I definitely have come down in cup size since I've lost some body fat, and I am fine with it going. My boobs are much perkier because they were hanging low for a while with the extra weight on, so I'm all for continuing to lose cup sizes, because I felt like being a size B or in C was like the perfect cup size. I never had any problems. I could always fit into things, and now it's better, but it's an issue, and all of my bras are a little bit loose, so I have to get resized again. Anyways, so it was a positive experience. So we'll just see what scans say. So I'm gonna reward myself and get my favorite tea from Starbucks, which is the honey citrus mint tea, and probably like an egg and sausage and egg sandwich, and go to work. So that's the plan, but I'm proud of myself because I did it. And she just kind of moved along and made me feel at ease right away, that I didn't feel like I didn't have anxiety about it. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you or just blessed to get a good radiologist who just kind of walks you through and makes you feel comfortable, it just makes the scans go so much quicker. I think I literally spent maybe less than 10 minutes getting scans, and then I was out the door. I would say anybody who is considering or knows that they have to go in and get a mammogram, I highly recommend that you just go do it. Just woman up. It's not that bad. I thought it was gonna hurt, and it didn't. It was just pressure, and like so many other women told me, it's just pressure. It's gonna be a little weird and uncomfortable, and you're in a weird, funky position, but you'll get over it. And yeah, and I did, and like they were so right about that. Yeah, I'm really glad that I did it, and I just know too many people who are younger than me that were diagnosed with breast cancer, and they weren't even of the age to get a mammogram, and they had to fight to be seen, which is ridiculous, when they found a lump in their breast, and their doctors didn't take them seriously because they were younger. And unfortunately, we're seeing this huge trend of women who are getting aggressive forms of cancer in their 30s, sometimes even early 20s, for whatever reason. And I just think, if you have any concerns about your breast, feel any lumps, like, do not hesitate. Go and cause a scene if you have to, just to put your mind at ease that everything's good. And just always follow that like intuition on your body better than anybody else, because you live in it. So if you feel like they might have missed something, then go that extra step to raise hell. Ultrasound, that was what the gal that I met, the breast cancer survivor that I met, said, was that she had to fight to get an ultrasound because I believe she has dense breasts. And so she had to fight for it, especially now that she's a breast cancer survivor, to have that extra screening done, which it should just be automatic. If you have dense breast tissue and they're reading it and they want clearer images, then that should be the next step. And then that should be subsequently the next step every single time you come in to get your mammogram done. It should just be standard. I don't know why it's an issue. But anyways, just take care of yourself, and then I'll report back once I get word from my doctor about how that looked. And I'm sure she's going to be like, I'm so proud of you for going, because I know you didn't want to go. And I really didn't, but I'm glad I did. And I will come in and get my scans. And it was easy peasy, quick. And now, you know, if I have any other concerns or anything going on, then I can address it. I'm very much about like, okay, well, what's the plan? Let's just take care of it and just move forward so I can live the healthiest life I can.